My family's relationship with the Kelsey family began with Carisdale. Hey! No? Playing Dunbar. Yay. In Little League Baseball. Howard was a yappy 11-year-old. I was a yappy 11-year-old, if you can imagine that. And they beat us 2-0 in the district final at Hillcrest Park. And my heart was broken. And off we went home to Carisdale, and Howard went to Dunbar, gloating about their trip to the provincials, if I'm not mistaken. This is 1969. So 1 year later, Carisdale and Dunbar again for all the marbles. The district, what were we, Howard? 6? You should know you won it 2 years in a row. Anyway, 1-1, final inning. Howard was pitching for the bad guys. I was pitching for the good guys. Howard puts a bunt down the first baseline. I run over, rolls a little bit foul. If you know baseball, you're allowed to actually kick a ball foul. Why you don't pick it up in the glove is beyond me, but I've seen guys do it on TV, so I thought it was cool. Kick it foul, the umpire says to me, you can't do that, this isn't soccer. So, being somewhat defiant as opposed to obedient, I looked at him and thought, well, if Howard bunts again, and why he's not trying to swing and get a real hit, I don't know. But anyway, sure enough, Howard squares around to bunt again, down the first base line, goes foul again, I kick it again, umpire says, I told you, first base, he awards first base to Howard. My dad, being the nice fellow that he was, decided not to protest, along with Mr. White. Howard's on first base. I didn't have a very good catcher, so he couldn't catch the next pitch, and Howard was on second. I don't think it was a wild pitch. I believe it was a pass ball. That's where you blame the catcher, not the pitcher. Somehow Howard got the third. I believe it was another pass ball, not a wild pitch. And then I think it was, honestly, Howard, I think it was like 3 pitches.
Yes, you're right.
And Howard had to go somewhere. I think he had a basketball game that night, too. So, boom, next pitch gets past the catcher again. Without mentioning any names. John Rayner was a real good guy, though. And so John scurries to the backstop, gets it, I'm running in, screaming, come on, throw it, he throws it to me. It wasn't a very good throw. I'll deal with this, okay? And I know you get to hear it again. That's the whole benefit for you here. He throws it to me, and I somehow managed to find a way not to catch it very well. And I knew I hadn't caught it. It's all, I can see it like it's yesterday. We were talking. It hasn't really stuck with me. It's June 14th, 1970. About 7:18 in the evening. Beautiful night, clouds in the east. And I reach, try to catch, tag all at the same time, and I managed to hoodwink the umpire for about 3 seconds. But the guy I wasn't going to hoodwink was of course, Howard, who was smart beyond all of us at that point when it came to athletic intelligence. Never mind the academic stuff. So, the umpire calls Howard out, and I'm like reaching for the ball like a hen who's laid an egg. I know it's under me somewhere, and I haven't got it in my glove, and I can see Howard, just like in slow motion, I can still see it. He dropped the ball! And I'm fishing around for this thing, just like yesterday, isn't it? So, he's still in the game. So, also, now the umpire's looking underneath my various parts, and there it is, he sees it, safe! And I just collapse at home plate. I'm 12. My world has come apart. My mom tries to console me after having a discussion with the umpire, of course. Dunbar wins, off they go to the BCs, where I think they got hammered, which was great. And I walked out of the park. Yeah, I know you won, Howard. I got the mic right now, but you can clean this up after if you want. So, after the game, I'm walking out of the park. And my mom passed away in 2005. And she never forgot this. I never forgot it. My dad never forgot it. It was Mrs. Kelsey, with Mr. Kelsey standing close by. And a lot of times parents would have been on the road home. They would have been celebrating with the kids, but they knew they'd kind of cheated to win. So, I mean, they'd won. The best team won. That's how it works, right? But Mrs. Kelsey took the time to come over to me, put her arm around me, and do her best to console me. And I remember it, honestly, the whole thing like it was yesterday. Even the umpire with the bad calls. And it meant something to me. And I heard Doug talk about Mrs. Kelsey's sense of fairness. And I was thinking at the back of the room there, as I stood beside my beautiful bride, saying, if she was that fair after the hug, she should have gone over to the umpire and say, we should be going to the 7th inning right now. It didn't happen that way. But I remember Mrs. Kelsey doing that, and it resonated probably more as years go by and you have your own children. and you understand the passion with which they play and the passion with which you watch. And it stuck with me for a lot of reasons, and it just established a foundation for me too. And it established a relationship between Howard and I. Forgive me while I refer to notes here, because I just wanted to make a few. It was the forging of a friendship, as bitter as it was, the way we lost, even at the age of 12. It lasted through high school, even my 2 grade 12 years. The Kelseys, I remember, really, I don't want this to sound too simple, but I remember them as parents that always cared. And by that, they always asked. They always asked about me and my life. And it's funny how that resonates for you, but I remember thinking, you know, Cheryl's a pretty good basketball player. Doug had 63 in a game the other day. Howard's never met a shot he didn't like. There's some accomplished kids in this house. It wasn't all about their kids. When they saw you, they asked about you. Mr. Kelsey and Mrs. Kelsey. 4070 West 37th was a wonderful place to be. And it was just really neat to feel comfortable there. And it was nice to know that you mattered in a house that offered excellence, that what you were doing in your life mattered to them too. And I'll never forget that. And it's been passed on, I want to note. Ever since Dunbar took liberty with the rules, those 42 years ago, Howard and I had a connection. It might have been guilt for him. But I do want to say the apple doesn't fall from the tree, or fall far from the tree. Because whether Howard was in Stillwater, or Elsa, or Victoria, or playing wherever he was playing with the national team, or wherever son could be found, Howard never ever forgot his friends. And I always remember Howard in high school, because it was in grade 8 that he semi-committed to being really serious at something. Grade 10, he's going to be the best basketball player he can be. Never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it in my life. So while we're off going to parties, and Mrs. Coulter's son was getting into the liquor store for us in grade 11. That was great. We appreciate that. We'd go to the Kermode's house and empty their liquor cabinet when Harry and Millie would let us, which was on most occasions, of course. But Howard, while he distanced himself in terms of a commitment that he'd made, he never distanced himself as friends of all of ours. And I heard Doug talking about Mom and Dad and the way they treated people, and if they asked how you were doing, they waited for an answer. And that's what Howard has been to me, and I can only imagine that Doug and Cheryl have been to their friends as well. We all have challenges in our life. Howard has always been there for me, anytime, no matter where he has been. Anytime I've needed him, whatever it may be, lending an ear, trying to justify the Dunbar win, whatever it may be, Howard has been there as a loyal, loyal friend. And I think we all know they don't grow on trees. And I just want to say that he learned his lessons well, as have Cheryl and Doug. I want to say thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Kelsey for providing such a loving, facilitating, and humble foundation, because I know that I and many others continue to benefit. Thank you.